Greg Tepper, Dave Campbell's Texas Football and TexasFootball.com here in Grapevine at the DFW Coaches Clinic with the head coach of the Woodrow Wilson Wildcats, Coach John Fish. Coach, it's good to see you. Last time I saw you, last time we talked was in San Antonio.
Correct.
Ahead of you taking your first, your first steps as coaching your first game there at Woodrow.
Yep.
Second in district behind some team I forget. But overall, some time has passed. How do you assess what you guys were able to do in your first year?
It was a great year. It was a great start. Obviously, came a little short in district, and a little early exit in playoffs, which it's a lot of great things that took place in year one to build on top of. An incredible senior class of kids that really set a great standard for us as a staff to be able to continue to build on in our first offseason as we go into it this year. And you're never happy with being home early, as no one is. Unfortunately, there's only one happy team at the end of the year, and but there's just so much to build on there. It was just a great community, a great school.
Well, you mentioned there's only one happy team. That team was in your district, South Oak Cliff, and we were talking before we came on that you guys. That was a one-score game in the fourth quarter. They pull away. That's a championship program, obviously. But what do you take from something like that, playing the defending and eventual back-to-back state champions that close?
They're a great team. Coach Shaw, they do an incredible job, and I think you're never happy with a loss. But I think when you take a job in your first year, and you're always looking for opportunities to affirm what's going on. And I think for our kids, first of all, we're playing in a district title game, and then putting an incredible, obviously, team. And had them on the ropes a little bit. It was a battle back and forth, and just the affirmation for your kids to say, you know what, man, you do belong here. And so to continue to build on that and hopefully do it again next year and see what happens.
So you mentioned that you're getting your first full off season, right? First full off season there at Woodrow. What are your priorities going into this offseason, knowing full well how big of an opportunity it is for you guys to really put your stamp on the program?
Sure. One of the things I think when you take over a program is you're making sure that you're getting all the kids in, right? It's about inclusivity. It's making sure you're getting your numbers up. It's making sure that, kids aren't leaving the program because there's a change and there's all these things. So, you're hammering home discipline, but you're also being flexible with kids, giving them opportunity to have a new experience. And so you go through a year, and I think sometimes you may deal with a few different distractions with different things, just trying to navigate and figure out that first year while also trying to instill your philosophies, your culture, your beliefs, and all those core values you have. When you get into your first offseason, now you kind of have a leg to stand on. And so it's now, hey, you know what this is now, and now you tighten it up. And now we really hone in on those core values. We're going to build our culture on discipline being the first one, removing distractions, those types of things. And we know that ultimately holds you back ultimately in the end. So that's really a big deal. But
it also strikes me that, let's say you guys had gone 2-8 or 1-9. Sure. That is a much more difficult prospect of infusing those core values and really strengthening them, as opposed to the year that you guys did have. Do you feel like the success you had on the field is going to be able to kind of leak into those types of conversations you have in the offseason?
1,000%. There's no question. I mean, and that's the thing. You whether it's the district title game that you come up just a hair short, or you have a great back and forth game with Ennis in the first round. There's so much to build on because of that. And so, when the kids get a taste of what this is, you see a little success, now it's time to double down on that because they can now see it, that there's proof in the pudding.
All right, so now you've been there for a year. What do you know about this job now that you didn't know when pen met paper back in, April? April, yeah.
Right. First of all, we don't have enough time in this interview. So,
it's digital. We got to keep going.
This will have to be edited. Yeah. I will tell you, I've sat in a head coach chair before in Bonham, and that had its own, unique circumstances and different challenges. What I know now that I didn't know then is number one, I knew I was getting into a great situation. I didn't know how great it would be. A lot of that is because of the leadership in our administration there. Chandra Barnett, who's our principal on the campus, unbelievable leader. When you see visions align on a campus that, man, you think they're aligned when you take the job, but when you see that in action, man, it's special. And so it's exciting. That part's exciting. I think obviously the challenges you face, the things you just don't know until you pull back that curtain, right? I think now, 8 months in, I'm a lot better as an athletic coordinator than I know I was when I first took over. There's just all the things you kind of drink from a fire, from a fire hose that first 3 or 4 months of everything from how do I fill out a PO here? How do I make sure that, we've got security at games? All the things, the processes and the systems and and trying to coach football while you're doing it. So I think it's just a unique circumstance there as far as that. But I'll tell you, my experience with the leadership, not just on the athletic side with Sylvia and Brian and Scott Jackson, all those guys, they're awesome. They always say, we're not going to tell you no. We may say not right now, but we never tell you no, and they've held true to that. They've been so supportive with any need we have. And then obviously at the campus level, we just have such great administration there that is just extremely helpful, and the visions align and special things can happen.
Coach, appreciate your time. Congrats on the great year.
Thank you.